Welcome to Mastering Agility. If you want to listen to authentic conversations with the most inspiring guests, find like-minded people in the Mastering Agility Discord community, or both online and face-to-face events, this is the platform for you. Grab a drink, sit back, and join professional Scrum trainers Sander Dorr, Jim Sammons, and their guests in an all-new episode.
All right, and welcome back to the Scan Agile series. And today's guest is basically the first face you saw when you walked into the conference building. The man behind the welcome hugs, warm vibes, and about 100 moving things that made this thing run, Jose Casal, is in the house.
Yep, and he's not just the friendly face of Scan Agile. He's one of the masterminds behind it. Jose's been organizing conferences across Europe for years, but he's also an Agile coach, trainer, and as we discovered, a bit of a nomad. Spain, UK, Finland, this guy's passport has stories.
We talked about what it takes to build a community-first conference, why he keeps doing it even though it totally eats your time and sanity, and how the role of Agile in the industry is shifting fast.
Plus, we got into the real talk, sponsorship struggles, shifting focus from Agile to AI, and why generosity might just be the best growth strategy there is.
Let's welcome Jose.
Welcome back, everyone. We have a very special guest, and in a way, he was kind of the conference welcoming committee because I think he was the first person besides Marge that I bumped into. So, special guest, can you introduce yourself to the audience?
Well, I'm Jose Casal. I'm part of the organizing team, Scan Agile, also working Agile coaching, training, and so on. My role here has been part of the organizing team. And the welcome party, just giving hugs to people.
The welcome party, it was such a wonderful welcome. He's like a global man of what a Renaissance man, because you're clearly we're in Finland.
Yes.
You have a Spanish accent. And where do you live again?
I live in Finland.
Oh, you do live in Finland now.
I moved to Finland. No, I'm originally from Spain, as you can probably guess by the accent that I have. But I lived in the UK for 27 years until I eventually moved to Finland.
Is it work that has brought you around the world? Just interest?
Different things. I mean, one thing is called wife. My wife is from here.
Right.
But yeah, between pandemics and Brexits and wife. I just keep thinking that as life goes by, I seem to be going north. At one point, maybe I just start going over the North Pole and start going south on the other side.
Totally circumnavigate the globe.
Yeah, that could be a good.
Nice.
But for the time being, I'm good here.
Hey, listen, we're almost at the end of the Scan Agile conference. How do you feel about this year's edition?
It's been great. I mean, as an organizer, the thing that usually happens is that by the time that we start the conference, we are already kind of like gone. But it's a good thing because then what we say is like you let the people fill the space that we have created. And it's been great. Great, very international conference, great atmosphere. Loved the different speakers, the different sessions, topics. So generally, it's been a great experience. I mean, it does fill my energy level, and I'm starting to think about 2026 already.
So why do you do it? Because I know I've been a part of organizing conferences and all that, and I know the amount of work, blood, sweat, and tears that goes into it. So why do you do it?
I have no answer to that question. I keep asking myself.
But yeah, you're already thinking about 2026.
It's some sort of addiction, I guess. No, look. When I started to do a conference, the main thing that I had was that I was exploring new communities. I was coming into I was very much in the early stages of the Kanban community back in 2012-13, and I remember distinctively, whatever it is in English. Been in a conference in Vienna and thinking like, I need this crowd in London where I am when I operate, and I want to bring this to London. So my original motive for the conference was to get awesome people that will inspire me and my community in London. And I think that was the main driver, always trying to do something special, something that felt good, something that created bonds, friendships. You go to conferences and you start just hugging everybody because you get to know everybody. So that was the original thing that what I wanted to do. I mean, it was, of course, it helps me as well professionally, both in reputation, I'm part of a speaking circle as well. But there is something really amazing about just bonding with people, exchanging ideas, talking, hearing to others, sharing things. So,
do you think future you, looking back 20 years from now, maybe hopefully you can be resting and recovering and not working somewhere. Do you think you'll look back and find that all that time was valuable and well spent? Or do you think you may have some regrets and like, oh, I wish I had spent that time differently?
It's a great question, but in some ways it doesn't matter because I have no way of guessing that now.
Mm-hmm.
So if in 20 years' time my hindsight tells me it was good or bad, that's hindsight. Today it feels the right thing. But I'm still also questioning about what kind of conferences, what kind of events we want. I'm not the same person professionally and as a person that I was 15 years ago when I did the first conference in London. So my own needs, my own professional appetite and things like that, you start questioning about what kind of conference do I want. And if a 2-day format, for example, is the thing that I need personally. There is still a need for people in the community. You can see that people come to conference. Yeah? But I'm also sometimes wondering about I've been actually experimenting with alternative formats, which might be also delivering something extra for me today. But 20 years time, whatever happens will be hindsight, and that's okay.
Sure.
No regrets.
I'm curious because we just had Michal Epstein.
Yes.
We asked her what one of the main key takeaways is that she got from the conference. The same with Laura. What's as an organizer, what's been the main takeaway for you from these 2 days?
It's always the people. It's always going to be the people. We get in. This is not a big conference, and I don't like big conferences. It's 250 people, 300, somewhere in that range always. And what happens is the best thing is about the fact that you get to see people that you probably see 1 or twice a year, and you get to know new people. You start also seeing people coming along into the community, becoming speakers or becoming just attendees and things like that. So for me, as an organizer, the key takeaway is always about that human connection that we make. That is whether the talks are better or worse, whether there is an inspired moment or not, and those things is important as they are for me. It's always like that human connection, and you see that happening. So that's it. That's job done. Yeah.
Jim, you flew from the US over here.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing,
exactly. How did you experience the Scan Agile conference?
It was wonderful. Honestly, I was talking to my team at lunch, and I'm like, we just kind of went over what it cost from a dollars and cents standpoint and what it costs from time and all that. And I think it has massive ROI for us. Now, we're a slightly different use case because for us, this was a time to build team cohesiveness, camaraderie, rapport. I got to meet some people I've worked with for, over a year in person for the first time. Yeah. And I think that's both a good thing and not a bad thing. Is it shouldn't have taken so long to meet in person, but it also shows you can build really strong connections and networks and rapport and friendships remotely. And I've done that multiple times in the last 5 years. I felt very energized the last couple days and wish we had a third day. I mean, I'm tired at the end of each night. Like we were talking last night at the hotel, like I'm tired. But these are very, very motivating. And I used to do a lot more things like this, 2018, 2019. But zero regrets to come over. And the conference organizers have been wonderful. And my dad would love me to get a dad joke out because whenever my dad would meet my friend in high school, Jose, he would say, well, if you're Jose, where's Hose B? Well, Scan Agile has a Hose B. Jose Alarcon is, and I probably butchered his last name, but it was also just a joy to work with throughout this whole process. So, it's a great conference.
Jose Alarcon will say that he's Jose A. I am Jose C. There is no B.
Okay, no B. We put the B in Jose. Wait, that sounds really terrible. Probably.
I'm not gonna go there. Yeah.
Well, I'm curious. Before we hit record, we were kind of just talking about the state of the industry, and this came up at lunch with a couple strangers that I just met today. Is we see conferences in decline. Attendees are declining. Some conferences are just choosing to not hold another event. And sometimes it's maybe forever. Sometimes it's we're going to give it a year and see what happens. Maybe move to an every other year.
Yeah.
So I know that you've been doing this a lot in different places. What do you see the state of kind of conferences as, and what do you attribute that opinion to?
Yeah. It's a very, I don't think there is a single factor. It's a very complex situation, but there is definitely something happening. I organize Lean Agile London. It's not going to happen in 2025. even 2024 was the best year we have ever had. That conference was sold out 3 months before, even before we had the program out. We had sold it out. But it's a conference that relies on sponsorship. It's Scan Agile. We are community conferences. We are not aiming to make any money. So we rely on things like sponsorship and support and stuff like that. And for example, for us in London, the sponsorship just disappeared, and it's just way too much risk to organize a conference without that level of support. I'm seeing the market, a lot of conferences saying that. And either we have to figure out how to run conferences which are independent of things like a sponsorship, or we have to figure out what kind of format will make more sense. There is also a demand. I think the people that know what a conference is will go to it, but I think there is less demand. I mean, for example, Scan Agile, we have had a more international conference this year than last year in terms of participants. I suspect that some of that is because other conferences in Europe are not happening. So, given that there is less choice, some people have chosen to come here.
I'm not sure if I agree with that fully, because I do see like the amount of conferences after COVID pop up like a bunch of mushrooms.
Maybe as well.
If you look at the amount of submissions that you had, which were over 3,000.
No, not that many.
I thought that was mentioned yesterday. No. Anyway, there was a lot of...
We will have not survived 3,000.
I was shocked at that number.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
No, it's still the chance of getting a session in Scan Agile is about 7%. So we had about 400 submissions for about 40 slots.
Then I definitely pulled that number out of my ass. Anyway, the amount of conferences that I've seen over the past couple of years grew exponentially.
Yes.
So there too, I can imagine that if these topics and these sessions and the speakers are not absolutely on the edge of new stuff, on the cutting edge of innovation, or just completely new things, then people won't be interested. And because they've seen the same thing over and over.
That's true as well.
Just look at the amount of agile is dead nonsense discussions again and again and again and again. Yeah, if you want to kill it, keep going like that. But that's where I guess conferences, especially in Northern Europe or in Northern Americas, they need to really differentiate.
We need to differentiate. We need to understand what our community needs and bring those kind of topics as well. I think the Agile is dead. I'm not going to go into this, but there is one thing that I think is important to realize as well. And I might be wrong about this, but until about 2022, my theory is one of the things that there is less money available in agility, less money invested in agility these days. Part of it for me is that until 2022, if you were a CTO, CIO, and you need to be doing something which is late edge technology or edge ideas, what would you invest in? Agile, digital transformations, things like that. 2022, people started to look at AI. So there is still a lot of money floating around, but that kind of like what looks trendy and edgy and all the stuff is AI. So we are seeing in the Agile community the thing that we are not that default favorite things that you should be doing because it looks good. Yeah. That's why we have less training, we have less investment, we have less jobs, less transformations. It's just because the money is not coming to Agile by default. And I think that's part of what we're suffering with. People call it Agile is dead. No, Agile is not dead. It's just that there is a different level of investment.
Do you see that back in the amount of submissions that were made in the trend of AI as well? Did you see more AI stuff this year than last year?
We started to see, we were talking about this last year, you and I in our podcast. We started to see more AI submissions. Some of it just feels still like I'm just jumping into one trend and I want to talk about AI. I would love to see this kind of like the really deeper practitioner people saying, I've been building these tools, I've been building something that is really, really relevant, and I can share that with you. At the moment, this year has been better. We actually tried to schedule 2 or 3 talks on AI because they felt like, all right, these people are bringing something like I've been doing something for a year or 2 now, and I can share. So there is a good trend happening. But before it was a little bit of like, hey, I'm going to talk about AI, but I've been doing this for 3 months. But it's definitely. I mean, obviously AI is here and is it can be superb. I mean, I had some recent experiences with someone put one of my trainings through a notebook LM, and my mind was blown by what generated a podcast out of my training. It was like, all right, that actually was good. It's not going to replace the training, but as a kind of like as a reference, as an asset for later on for memory or refreshment, or whatever, it was like, that is really good. So I'm starting. I don't know. I'm still excited. I'm actually more excited than I was last year.
Both Jim and I are experienced consultants and trainers. Therefore, we know how important it is for organizations to have the fundamentals in place before delivering high-value products. And this starts with understanding the theory behind whatever framework, method, or process organizations apply. And this is where Zebia comes in. Zebia is a pioneering software engineering and IT consultancy company, transforming and executing at the intersection of domain and technology to create digital leaders for our people, clients, partners, and communities. As a gift for our Mastering Agility audience, they provided us with a discount code MA10 when signing up for their open enrollment classes to get 10% off. Go to zebia.com/academy to find the entire curriculum of courses. That is Zebia, XEBIA.com/academy to find all their courses.
We had a conversation at dinner. I don't think I've told you about it, but one of the other guys was preparing. He's Finnish, and he was preparing some training for Japan. So he used LLM to translate into Japanese, and then asked a native Japanese speaker to look at it. And they're like, yeah, this is really, really good. But what he found really fascinating was he could ask ChatGPT to make it humorous and to work in contextual and region-specific jokes and idioms and things, and it did it. And then he bounced that back. So then he translated it to Japanese, which is a difficult language to translate because they have many, symbols and characters that mean multiple things. And then took that output and said, translate it back now to English. And it was really, really good, which I think when it can start to do things like emotion and readability and humor, that's really interesting.
It's getting interesting. Yeah, I was this podcast, for example. It was actually engaging. How it was done. It was like a dialogue between two AI characters, and it was picking things that were not obvious in the slides that I had delivered maybe through exercises or things like that. And suddenly it was like, okay, this is good. But you just reminded me a few years ago, I was doing the technical revision of Klaus Leopold's book, Rethinking Agile for Spanish. And I was writing the foreword, and he asked me if I could show me what you're doing in Spanish. So I translated it to German, sent it to him. And out of curiosity, with DeepL, it wasn't me translated to German, but out of interest, I translated the German back to Spanish. And what came back was better than my original text. I was like, damn, this is not good. But it was that translation, that going into German and translating back, it actually had refined what I had written originally. It's like, this is scary.
Yeah. I use a plugin called Grammarly. I think I mentioned it here before, and it's got an AI component as well. It has definitely made me a better writer.
Yes.
My writing is getting more accurate. It's getting in the tones that it detects, because it does something I really like. It'll say, these are the tones detected in your writing. And it's capturing every keystroke, whether I'm sending a personal email, chatting with an accountant, or sending client or typing a client deliverable. And it's been very useful.
Yes.
So
I'm becoming more intentional and less superfluous. I mean, because I keep adding a lot of feeling words.
Yes.
And I use Hemingway, and Hemingway is like, stop adding things that don't mean anything.
Right. So it has helped me become more brief and like eliminate or simplify language. Right. And we heard a buzz phrase on this show this week. Simple is sexy. So that's a good one. So
I always say simple is elegant.
I love definitely
that.
Super sexy.
Would you rather be sexy or elegant?
Yes.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. So I have a tactical question about conferences. Are conferences money makers? Like, are they all nonprofits, or are they a revenue generating thing or product?
There are both. I mean, there are some of them. My conference in London, for example, it never made any money. The level of stress to get it to zero right at the last week was always difficult. But that meant that we were basically putting our own personal money on the line. Other conferences are generally they're community driven. So even if they make small amounts, what that means is that goes back into the community somehow. There are conferences out there which are going to be commercial, but there's going to be different flavors. But you will sense it. You sense it in the kind of how they communicate, the prices, the speakers they get. So there is a range for everything. I find that the conferences which are done through volunteers and community and so on, there is an element. Is my home, so probably I'm talking for myself. But there is an element of authenticity and genuinity that I really appreciate in those conferences.
Yeah.
The commercial ones are just, I feel they become very cold.
And here's why I asked. So when you say that you know the London conference was very sponsor heavy and that dried up, why do you think it dried up?
The organizations we have had some sponsors supporting us for years, like great relationship, and basically when we started to plan 2020, we actually announced 2025. We're starting to sell tickets, and we started to sense like, the sponsors are giving us a bit of it's going to be a difficult year. Started to hear rumors around, so we went out to the sponsors that have been supporting us from before, and they all said like, it's just really difficult. We cannot justify anymore, and we want to support the community, but it's not the economic situation is not great, so we cannot do it this year. And I totally agree with them. Yeah, they have to also protect their own businesses. So in our case, it was just really the market is tough.
Did you hear from them? And Sandra, you work for a large organization that puts on their own events and then also probably sponsors others. Like, do you think it was just a sheer we don't have the margin or the profit this year or the revenue to do it, or was it about ROI? Like, we've invested a lot, but we're not seeing that commensurate return.
It can be both. Our sponsor, the way we liaise with the sponsors for us is, it's part of a community. So there might be an ROI which commercial, but that commercial might be a lagging signal that you might not even tie back to the conference. But most of them were doing it about like we are with the community. So I don't think it was an ROI per se. Sometimes you have sponsors that come to you because they're trying to come to the conference and sell. We tell them like, look, if that's your expectation, please don't sponsor us, because people don't come to the conference to buy. So at least sometimes you might be going to a potential sponsor and say, look, this is the reality of the event that we have. This is what you should expect. Please don't waste your money if that's your expectation.
What do you think, Sandra, from your experience?
I'm going to go with Jose's answer. It's a little bit of both. So for us, from my employer side, they're looking for what is in it for us as well. They don't just sponsor for the sake of sponsoring, which I have my opinions on. But they also want to see what the economical component is for them. Like, is there a return on investment? Does it completely justify it or just not at all? They're looking for what are potential opportunities for us to profit from this investment too, and not just from the goodwill. And it really depends on what area it is. We have some dominant regions, like mostly Poland, Western Europe, United States, and slowly and progressively more in Latin America as well. Then there's India, and some in the Arab region. And as long as the conference is not in either of those regions or any of those regions, then they're more likely to say, no, we're not going to sponsor this because that's not our key focus area.
Mm-hmm.
And given the fact that Finland is a small country, like the economic opportunities to get some return on investments are just inherently lower.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes the return of investment is not direct sales. It might be just things like brand reputation, brand recognition. I know Sevilla. Yeah, and I know Sevilla many times through being part of a community and meeting people from Sevilla in the community as well. So sometimes the return of investment is not, as I say, it's a very long tail.
Right.
I have had people. It's rare that this happened, but I have had people sometimes occasionally saying, I went to your conference 10 years ago, and now I'm buying something. It's like, okay, that's a 10-year return on investment.
Mm-hmm.
But many times you cannot even make that connection at all.
Well, I'm going to ask you for some free consulting.
Oh God.
Like we all do for each other, right?
Yeah,
And I'm also going to be a little vulnerable and just, kind of share my opinion on like my own business and all that. But I truly want your opinion, which is both of you, is okay. So let me start by an assumption, or not an assumption, a belief. I believe that a shift is happening in the tech industry where boutique firms are now able to compete, steal business, steal market share, win. Okay, not steal, win.
Yes.
Market share and business from large consultancies, large tech companies, large providers, right? And that's not unique to our industry, right? Like small law firms, small digital agencies, small is good, and then they become big through success, and then sometimes they become too big, and they've not stayed good at what made them successful.
Yeah.
And Ryan Brook and I have talked, and Sunder, we've talked, like Ryan and I kind of feel like our businesses are, and I'll just speak for me, right? I'm not speaking for Ryan, but you're in this spot between you're trying to appear legitimate. You're trying to say we're something, but you're trying to say, but we're not Accenture, McKinsey, we're not a big six consulting firm or whatever, and we don't have that money, we don't have those pockets, right? So it's like, how do you do that in a genuine way? And I think conferences, sponsorships are a way to give back and be like, put a smaller amount of your money where your mouth is and say, like, we give back to the community. We're an entity. We are about continuous learning. We're going to invest time and money and effort into that. But how do you balance that between, like, to my knowledge, you're not running Microsoft or you're not running a global consultancy. So how do you handle your own business and your own self and kind of walk that line between people thinking that you're more than just one guy with the backpack, because you're not, but also knowing you're not hiring KPMG when you hire Jose? No.
So, I mean, for example, Actinio is a very small consultancy, and we're intentionally small. We have no interest in growing. One thing that the conference is superb for us is that when I'm in conferences, I'm sure that in some ways I am being hired and I'm hiring people. What I mean is, you're meeting people, you're thinking like, I'd love to work with. That's a really interesting person. That's really useful. So for us as a consultancy, if a client comes and says, hey, we need something, what I can go is to find these people who are not hireable, and say, hey, I've got an opportunity. Are you available? Are you interested? Let's form a team. And then that's how if we need to scale, that's how we scale. I also love small companies, to work with small companies. Small companies, I'm talking about in the few hundreds. They have enough volume to be able to afford things and to try things, but they're not too big for them to really be difficult to change. What do things like conferences and things like that? It kind of like showcases the kind of people that we are. And if you are genuinely doing things because you believe in them, I think that shows. Right. And it might be the best way of, what this people say. People keep saying, like, you sell without selling. Right. Absolutely. You sell by demonstrating who you can be, what kind of thinking you do, how you approach things. So, I keep saying to JP, my partner, for example, I keep saying, like, generosity as a strategy. I have not experienced yet a situation where you're being generous and you're giving back to people, you're offering things that doesn't pay back eventually. That's a great soundbite. Generosity as a strategy. I like that.
And it ties into the conversations that we've had a couple times now before, that we should hire for character and not for paper skills. Yes. And that's where this pays out. Now I want to slowly start wrapping up, because we need to attend the last keynote from our good friend Joe Justice. Yes. What's for next year's Scan Agile?
We don't know. Not yet. I don't want to say more of the same, because then it will be
what if the same is good?
It could be, but I also like the idea of different from same. Yeah. So that's my TBR today.
Well, and I wasn't here last year, Jose, but that's what I've heard about this conference is it's not an echo chamber, right? Like one of the things that I've heard about other conferences is it's just the same stuff over and over again, the same topics, same that. And I looked at the schedule for these 2 days and I saw a number of sessions that I thought were very good. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in, but I think that's the strength of
good.
This.
And what I hope we do, I mean, we don't know who will be volunteering next year because it's a significant investment in time. I mean, organizing a conference, you have to know that it's going to be 6, 7, 8 months of work. And work where you're going to have different levels of availability because of what happens in the real world. Yeah. But I hope that what we always go back to say is like, okay, you don't just start with is the same format. You may start questioning, hey, is the length of the sessions okay? Do we have the right balance? Do we have the right topics? What could we do to start bringing something that looks also fresh? I mean, we were just I hope we are not joking by saying, like, for example, what if we did live podcasts with audience? That would be an introduction, something slightly different. That could be a small bit of refreshing. We're not going to redesign the conference completely unless there is a need. But we're in the world of Agile. Adapt. We need to be ready to adapt.
But put the podcast on a stage in front of a bigger audience. Yes. Like we have an awesome room right now. It's very intimate. Yeah. But put that in front of a bigger audience where people really have the opportunity to ask their questions to their work-wise heroes. Mm-hmm. Now we're going to We're going to end
that thing
with the ChatGPT question of the day. Oh, what's the most surprising insight about your attendees that changed the way you design your events?
God, can you tell ChatGPT for a few answers?
Answer this for me.
Repeat that. No, I'm stumped. What was the question?
What's the most surprising insight about your attendees that changed the way you design your events? And if it's none, it's none, right? You don't have to force an answer.
I'm going to give you an answer because I was talking about this. We're in Finland, and I've heard many times that we're in Finland. Finnish people will not engage. And if I may say that needs a beep. That's not true. When we engage people are engaged. And when we create community and when people feel safe to engage and they feel that they are amongst a community, people are engaged. One thing that I really love about here is like this idea, we're in Finland, people are not going to do that. I say, okay, try. And then people do it. So that's the answer.
That's a great surprise.
Yeah. And hopefully that's going to be a takeaway for other conference organizers as well.
But it's important to know your context.
Yes.
Be mindful, but you will be surprised if you try.
Jose, thank you so much for organizing yet another wonderful Scan Agile. Thank you for being here again.
Thank you again for having me again, and I'll see you in 2026 with a new format.
Thank you.
That is all for today. Thank you for listening. If you liked this episode, let us know by hitting that like button. Share it with friends and colleagues, sharing a message on LinkedIn, joining our warm and welcoming Discord community, or attend recordings as a virtual audience. You can find all the relevant links in the show notes. We hope you'll tune back in for the next episode of the Mastering Agility podcast.